Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel V. Hill, taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel V. Hill.
It's Friday. Thank goodness the weekend is almost here, everybody. I hope you guys had a wonderful week, and there's plenty to dive into because Sean Payton, even when he doesn't want to, I think he gives us a little bit of information that we all want to know. And the running back room has shaped out. If you have watched Coffee Break at all this week, then you already know exactly what I'm going to say. But it seems like Sean Payton confirmed it today. We'll dive into it. We're also going to be talking about Josh Reynolds. Didn't expect what I saw from him today. Very interesting. Playing games with Bo. PJ Locke talked about this, which was really fun and exciting and adds a little bit more of a game to training camp than it already is. Plus, if you're Broncos country and you want Bo Nix to start, I feel like you should be so excited about this little thing when it comes to Bo Nix. Then we'll get into Uwazurike because Sean Payton thinks that he will be back sooner rather than later. A little bit of an injury update for you on Quinn Bailey. Yeah, obviously that was a huge bummer from practice on Wednesday, but that it is, who they signed, who's replacing him, etc. We got all the details there. And then we're going to get into Adam Ranks. On Thursday, he came out with how many games he thought the Broncos were going to win. I have not watched the video, so I figured we would watch the video together. In a sense, I can't actually share it on here. We don't have permission to do it, but I figured we would have some of the audio, would go through it all, and then figure out if I think that they're kind of right on, spot on, and all that kind of jazz. So let's get into it because it's a Friday. Okay, running backs. What the heck did Sean Payton say that makes me think that I feel like I've been right all along, and that's a good thing and a good place to be? Sean Payton was asked about the running back room, and he was talking about the competition in the running back room and how he is so happy with the position of this running back room. And he starts to list off every single one of those guys. He's talking about Jaleel McLaughlin and how he looks so much better. He's talking about Javonte Williams being pretty much a different player now that he's down 11 pounds. He goes on his long rant, Audric Estime being excited about him. He even goes into Blake Watson, who, by the way, was back out at practice. He had a helmet on. It's the first time that we've been able to see him. And he goes on and on and on. And then all of a sudden he stops. We're no longer talking about the running backs. And I was like, that's interesting. So you really like the running back room. And you mentioned a ton of running backs, none that were Samaje Perine. Okay, Sean Payton, I think you just told us who is going to be saying goodbye to this Denver Broncos team, who's going to be saying goodbye to the Mile High City. Samaje Perine is out. We've been talking about this now for probably a week, almost probably a week and a half at this point, about how it became very clear that it was Javonte number 1, Jaleel number 2, and then Audric Estime number 3, and that was it. That's kind of everything you need to know when it comes to this running back room. Those are going to be your 3 main guys. Jaleel is going to be the closer for you. Javonte is going to be your starter. Lightning, Thunder. I think that's what it's going to look like. Samaje Perine probably out. And again, it was just Sean Payton not naming him. The guy who's supposed to be your number 2 back. Like, that's what makes the most sense. Doesn't name him. And then we saw Perine with the 3s today. So fortunately, I just think the time has come with Samaje Perine, and he's headed on out the door. We also heard from Josh Reynolds today. And let me just say, I was not there apparently when he came and spoke to the media during OTAs or minicamp, whenever it was. He is so small. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's huge. He's tall. But man, and he's very muscular. So I'm not trying to offend him. But he is just like a stick. I was shocked by it. You know, you see Cortland's son, he goes out there and you're like, all right, Court, like, you're built like a wide receiver. You look exactly like that. For Josh Reynolds, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting him to be a little bit bigger. Like, when he's got the pads on, you're like, okay, yeah, you look like a wide receiver. No pads. I was like floored by the fact that he looked so tiny. I don't know. I just was not expecting it at all when he walked up. But Josh Reynolds has looked really good. I mean, he obviously struggled with drop passes when he was in Detroit, but he hasn't had that many dropped passes here. He seems to be a favorite of Bo Nix too, which has been really fun to watch. I just was not expecting him to be so small, you guys. I feel like I'm really caught on this. He was just so tiny. But, like, not tiny at the exact same time. Like, he's not short. He's very tall, but he was just so much smaller than I expected. You would never guess if you walked by him in a grocery store that he was an NFL wide receiver. Like, would never, ever think that. He's just so small in a sense, and I just really caught me off guard. But he's looked solid in camp. I don't even know how they're going to dissect the wide receiver room. I've talked about that plenty. I feel like I need to do an episode with Cecil Lammy where we go through each wide receiver and like the pros and cons and figure out who you're trying to keep, and then see if Sean Payton does the same thing and how we align with it. Because truthfully, besides Cortland Sutton, Josh Reynolds, Marvin Mims, I don't know. I don't know who you're going to keep. There are so many talented guys in that room. The competition is all very, very close. You got Brandon Johnson, Little Jordan Humphreys, Vele, like there are so many. Troy Franklin's obviously going to make it. They drafted him, but Tim Patrick. See, I forgot about Tim Patrick. There are so many wide receivers. It's going to be fascinating to see how many come out at the end of the day. Okay, so this one is a little interesting. The playing games with Bo. You might be like, Rachel, what the heck are you even talking about? PJ Locke was asked about Bo Nix and like what it is about him that's, kind of fun to go up against him essentially. And I don't know why the video looks so bad. So just hear me out. It does look really, really like washed out. But PJ Locke talked very highly about Bo Nix. And after the video, I'll give you why I think this is a really, really good thing if you want Bo Nix to be starting week 1.
Well, right now, man, what I noticed from Bo is he's a good look-off guy. He's really good looking off. Even in OTAs, I was like, man, I just cannot get a beat off of him because most time rookie quarterbacks, like, their first read, they're going to look at it. And he'll look you off real quick. And, I think he studies the safeties. And he can tell, like, we're like super instinctive and we try to play games with him, so he try to play games back. So that's what I noticed off rip. And he can throw the field. He can throw it.
I freaking love that answer from PJ Locke. First of all, he had such a big smile on his face when talking about Bo Nix. But to be honest, here's why this is good news. Bo Nix has confidence, and that's something that is hard to come by when you're talking about a rookie. And he clearly has confidence, and he knows the smallest details make the biggest difference. You're talking about a safety who has been in the league now for a few years, and he notices this small thing that other rookie quarterbacks do, but Bo Nix doesn't do. I think that it's really cool that he's able to pick up on that small thing, but also I think it's fantastic news for Bo Nix. If you want him to be a starter, why? Because he's actually above it. He's above where a rookie should be. Now, don't get me wrong. He does have some rookie mistakes. I mean, he went 0 from 4 today, but there were other storylines that went along with it. Some balls got patted down. You saw a flag go out on one of them. So I feel like you can't freak out about the numbers. If you saw 0 and 4 for Bo Nix, you'd be like, crap, on 7-on-7, that's not good for him. But there were so many other things that got called that I feel like you kind of have to be like, okay, this dude can ball. And I think it's been really fun. Jared Stidham's still number 1 in my eyes, Bo Nix, and then you got Zach Wilson. And it seems like Zach Wilson is out of the mix. He has not gotten his date with the ones since the rotation began over, but I'm not Sean Payton, so they have a process, like Shawnee P would tell us. There's a process to it, and we're just trying to follow along and figure out who the heck's going to be starting each and every day. But for Bo Nix, there is a level of confidence that has already been instilled in this guy, and if you are ready for him to start, that's a really, really good news. So that makes me really excited. I'm excited for him. I'm still hoping he starts week 1. I think it'll be so much fun. I think Broncos country will buy into Bo Nix, even though he may make mistakes. I think that we're going to see Broncos country give a lot of love to the guy. So I'm really, really excited about it. But yeah, Bo Nix, that confidence, that's a huge, huge thing. Uwazurike. Okay, let's get into this just because it's a quick little update. Sean Payton, if you did not hear, he got both of his cases for gambling were dismissed, one in Colorado and one in, I want to say, Idaho or something like that. Illinois. Both of them got dismissed, which they had to wait for that. Now the NFL will be able to essentially reinstate him, hopefully. And Sean Payton made it seem like that was going to happen sooner rather than later. And of course, you're like, hey, well, do those guys work out on their own? And will they be ready to go into training camp shape? And Sean Payton said that one of the staff members does have access to him during this entire time and can reach out to him. But you kind of just have to trust your gut and hope that they are working out. And I mean, if not, I guess you get cut, right? That's kind of what it is at the end of the day. So just a little update on that front as well. We've also got some injury updates for you because, of course, Quinn Bailey yesterday, if you missed it, was carted off. He had his leg in a air cast, taken in an ambulance to the hospital. Not a good sign by any means, and we are sending our condolences to him. Of course, just on a missed season. I'm sure he was probably really excited about it, but our thoughts and prayers for a successful surgery. And Sean Payton did give a little bit of an update because the break was more advanced than maybe we all thought.
Update on Quinn Bailey. So there's two parts to the injury. He dislocated his ankle and he fractured his fibula, the smaller bone, a little further up. Next week, I don't have the day yet, but he'll have the ankle surgery. And there's probably a good chance they just leave the fibula and let it heal. But they'll look at that. But the main injury is the ankle. So they'll have that done next week. He was put on reserve injured. And then we signed the young offensive lineman we had out in camp, Colorado State, Oliver. Any questions?
CSU. I wish I had. Oh yeah. Oh no, that's a Bronco helmet. Wish I had some more CSU stuff that I could pull from behind us. But so they signed Oliver Jarvis, an undrafted rookie out of CSU. He competed in a tryout spot for Broncos minicamp earlier, or rookie camp, excuse me. 6'5", 305 pounds. Hopefully he's able to, impress again. He already impressed obviously a little bit, but I'm excited for him to get another opportunity, stay here in the beautiful 303 state. And just another name that everybody can kind of pay attention to. But that's what ends up happening with Quinn Bailey getting surgery next week. And hopefully he'll be back out there next season in 2025, ready to go. Okay, this is going quickly. I feel like I've just got so much, and it's real talk just between all of us. It gets so repetitive. I feel like we've talked about the wide receivers. We've talked about the running backs. We've continued the quarterback talk. I feel like we chatted a little bit about the linebackers, the safeties, like every single piece of this team. And it's kind of the same storylines, like all together. And we still, next week, luckily, you're preparing for a preseason game. So things amp up a little bit more. But today was also just a non-padded practice. They were in their shells. So you didn't see a whole lot out at practice on Thursday, which was kind of just a little bit of a bummer. It was like, okay, I'm ready for let's be real. We're all ready for just football to be here. We are ready for week 1 Seattle, for meaningful football to be here. And I feel like the only thing we don't really know is the wide receiver room. Obviously, it's going to be a little crazy. And there's a lot of competitions that we've talked a ton about, but it's mainly just who's going to be at the quarterback. Is it going to be Jarrett Stidham or Bo Nix? That's a question that every single person wants to know, myself included. And yeah, I feel like that's just the real talk that we got. But since we're talking about week 1 Seattle, let's talk about Adam Rank's predictions for the Bronco. I have not seen this video yet, so bear with me. If you have already too, I'm very curious, but let's do this. He's taking a win against Seattle, which I would actually agree with. And then he's taking a loss against the Steelers, which I also agree with. A win against Tampa. I think I had them I had them winning in Tampa, losing to the Jets. So 2 for 2, I would agree. Then win with the Raiders, yes. And then I have them losing to the Chargers, where he has them winning against the Raiders and the Chargers. Then he has a win in New Orleans for Thursday Night Football, which I also agree with. So he has them at 6-2 now with a win at the Panthers. Then it just gets ugly. November is the worst month. If you guys did not know, I'm coming back from my honeymoon. Literally, I think I come back the week of the Panthers game, and then it just gets terrible for the Broncos because you got the Ravens, you got the Chiefs, you got the Falcons, you got the Raiders. I'm like, that month is just going to be so terrible. And I could totally see the Broncos overlooking the Panthers, depending on if they've improved at all, because they're looking ahead to the Ravens. Of course, no NFL team will ever be like, oh yeah, we look ahead, but I swear that they all do. So that month is just absolutely brutal. But he has a loss to the Ravens, a win to the Chiefs. Interesting. You think that the Chiefs are going to overlook the Broncos and just look ahead to the Bills. Then the Falcons, you got to win. The Raiders, you got to lose. I would have second that. Although Kirk Cousins, I think we just don't know what's going to happen with Kirk Cousins. He has a loss to the Browns, a win in the Colts, a win over the Chargers, a loss to the Bengals, and a loss to the Chiefs to finish out the season. He has them with a record of 10-7, you guys. Could you imagine if the Broncos got 10 wins? I think you're really, really lucky if the Broncos get 8 wins And I always take these things with a grain of salt, not because I don't have like a huge level of respect for all of these guys, but if you're not out there at practice every single day, I feel like it can be really hard to dissect a lot of the things that are said because you're just hearing some of like the jargon that's going on behind the scenes. I do think the Broncos defense is going to be relatively still good. Losing Justin Simmons, of course, hurts you a little bit, but I do think that they'll be good. You're having a lot of guys that are back to playing together, which can only benefit you. I mean, the D-line has been rocking the O-line, so that's not good news for the offense, but hopefully the O-line can kind of get back out there, of course, and just protect whoever's going to be at quarterback. I think the wide receivers, while you don't have a lot of big names, you do have some names that can, create a little bit of a spark. Running back, I think they've got real value at that position. I think we're going to see really good things out of Javonte, down 11 pounds. I think he's going to look really good, so hopefully that will help, but otherwise, 10-7 feels like a bit of a stretch. So I'm going more 8-9. Don't hate me for that, but I feel like that's the case. And that's me being very optimistic. I think you could very well go anywhere between that 6 to 9 win range. And that's just my personal opinion. But you guys, it's a Friday. Let's go. I will not be out at camp for the next 2 days. We are doing our wedding shower this weekend. So I will be spending time with family. But I appreciate you guys. As always, it means the world to me that you get on here. We can all chat about football and everything. So really do appreciate it. And then I will see you guys on Monday for Marilyn Monday with James. And we'll see you guys then. Bye, guys.